first thing that we need to remember about this particular event in Jesus' life is that he died. He really died. He died a human death. And you saw how horrible that particular death was. But the first thing to remember is that he died a human death. A death that we will all experience, although not in the way that he did. Death is part of the journey of eternity. Death is the thing that we all, at some point, must come to. And Jesus has experienced it with us. As a human being, not as a deity, but as a person. And he chose it. For me, for you, and for the whole world. We're going to be looking at Mark's description. Hear the death of Jesus on the cross. From the Gospel of Mark, chapter 15, verses 33 through 39. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. And at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, listen, he's calling for Elijah. And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to him to drink, saying, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down. Then Jesus gave a loud cry, breathing his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, truly, this was the Son of God. In Mark's Gospel, the focus is on Jesus and his isolation. Jesus is alone when he dies. Jesus is on that cross by himself. And it seems to be a moment of utter desolation. And Mark makes that very clear with Jesus' last words, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he's mocked. Oh, he thinks he's Elijah. Now, Elijah was a very famous prophet who, it is said, resurrected the dead and went to heaven alive. And so they're comparing him in a mocking way with Elijah. Jesus, remember, we're talking about the Son of God. The Son of God could at any moment burst his chains, healed himself, and come down from the cross. This is Jesus at his most human. In the midst of utter desolation and utter abandonment, pain, loss, is also victory. Surrounded by hate, there is love. Jesus is alone when he dies. Jesus chooses to be on the cross. Jesus dies a human death just like us because he loves you. If you don't take anything else away from today, know that you are loved. You are loved by a person willing to do anything to redeem you. You are loved. And you are forgiven. The message of the cross is love and suffering. If we love somebody, we suffer for them, don't we? Now, we don't suffer on the scale that Jesus suffered for us. But if we love someone, we suffer for them, don't we?
Yes.
It is also a message of doubt and triumph. Jesus' cry on the cross, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, oh my God, why have you forsaken me? Is true. He is feeling that right then. He is feeling lost, forgotten, forsaken. And more. Jesus, in that statement, is quoting. That's a quote from the first line of Psalm 22. Here, Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from the words of my groaning? My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer. By night, and I'm silent. Haven't we all felt that? Haven't we all been there? In our pain, and our worry, and our fear, and our times of stress and grief. We felt that. Jesus felt that. The cross is his most human act. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the praise of Israel. In your fathers put their trust. They trusted you and you delivered them. They cried to you and you were saved. In you they trusted and were not disappointed. Now the mind, when we're at that place, wants to go to the negative. It wants to live there because there's a hole in everyone's heart. And it may be just a the size of a mustard seed, or maybe the size of the Pacific Ocean, but it's there. And the message of the cross is that love will fill it if you let it. So the psalmist does the right thing. He turns his mind away from his sorrow and to God. But then he remembers what's happening to him. But I'm a worm and not a man. Scorned by men, despised by the people. All who see me mock me. Listen to Psalm 22. This is what's happening to Jesus right now. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him delight in him, since he delights in him. Yet the psalmist says, you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you. Even at my mother's breast, from birth I was cast upon you. From my mother's womb you have been my God. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no help. My heart has turned to wax. It is melted away within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me. A band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing. But you, O Lord, be not far off. O my strength, come quickly to help me. Deliver my life from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. I will declare your name to my brothers. In the congregation I will praise you. All the rich of the earth will feast and worship. All who go down to the dust will kneel before him. Those who cannot keep themselves alive, posterity will serve him. Future generations will be told about the Lord. They will proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn. For he has done it. In the midst of despair, in the midst of feeling so lost, it's victory. Suffering is part of who we are as human beings. We live in a broken world. Now, not forever, not always, but right now, we live in a broken world. And because we live in a broken world, it's easy to be broken ourselves. You remember the story of Christmas Carol. At the beginning, Jacob Marley. Remember Jacob Marley? Scrooge's business partner comes to Scrooge and says, you will be visited by 3 spirits. And as Jacob comes in, what is he wearing? Chains. Heavy chains that bear him down. And Scrooge says, well, Jacob, you were always a good business partner. And Jacob's response is, mankind was my business. Humanity was my business. And that is why he wears those chains. Every link reminds him of a time that he could have loved and did not. And we carry our own chains, don't we? Our own regrets, our own sense of not being good enough, strong enough, smart enough, young enough, old enough. But in our own minds, we play that monologue. And it's unique to everyone. But we all have it because we feel that there's something not there, that's not right, that's not good, that's not whole. Well, the cross fills that hole. It doesn't matter what you've done. If you come to the cross, you can lay your chains down. It's been paid for. Jesus, as a human being, chose to die for you. I believe that it's possible to hold more than one thing at once. When we did the service for Ron, we mourned, but we also celebrated. One of the possible readings of that last line is that when he says those words, he believes them. But he also has faith. That this death is not for nothing. That this death was for something much bigger, which is that everything will be made right through that sacrifice, through that moment. At the moment of his death, because he chooses to be human, Jesus perhaps does not know what happens next. Just as we don't know, in the sense of, I've been there, we have faith because we're human. I have faith that one day I'm going to walk into heaven and hug my dad. I have faith. But I haven't been there yet. And Jesus is human, and he hadn't been there. Jesus' act on the cross was his final act as a human being. The next step, the resurrection, tells the rest of the story. But it's important to realize that what you are looking at carries a message that God keeps the faith. No matter what, he keeps the faith. That God loves you. He died for you. He died for me. He died for you. And therefore, he died for all those people out there too. And that's why we love. Because we were loved. We are forgiven. All we have to do, and it is a hard thing to do, is put our chains down and walk away. Because we're not unwanted, we're chosen. We are not unloved. We were died for. So we are not alone. We are His. Let us pray.